Welcome back to Global War in 1939. We just finished off round six, so let's take a look here. All right, so for the Germans, they did, in fact, take out Moscow. Um, at first, they were thinking, should they wait for their infantry? That would have taken 3, 4, 5 turns because they had no infantry left, and they could only build really the closest would be here, and then have to march them over. Would have taken way too long. So they decided to just go in and attack with whatever they could. They did utilize their most of their air force, their bombers and their tactical bombers that they have left. They start with 5, they're down to 3. And then their veteran fighters flew back to Western Germany. So they did take out Moscow, and they brought in, like I said, whatever that they could actually get in. So this is the surviving force from that battle. They went in. They took all their hits on their artillery and mechanized. Unfortunately for the Russians, they didn't roll well at all. As you can see, they even got artillery and mechanized left. They didn't even get to the tanks. They went in with 9 artillery, only lost 7, and they went in with 5 mechs, a mix of regular mechs and SS mechs, and they still got 1 left. They did also lose that lone SS infantry. But everything else is still intact. Still got a crazy healthy armor core, and still got their 3 heavy artillery. So now what we're going to do with those tanks, well, we can either jump down into the Middle East, kind of do what we did the last game and go into Africa, or head back into France, as France is extremely thinned out now. The British came in, made an attack, and then the Americans quickly jumped over with their own forces. So this is what's currently in Normandy right now. 6 infantry and 3 artillery for the British, 2 heavy artillery, 3 normal artillery, and 1 medium tank, 1 infantry, and then a stack of Marines. So that's all in France. And the Germans, on the previous turn, the British had some forces there, and the Germans brought in all their armor and whatever infantry they could to get rid of them. And then the counterattack from the British wiped all that out. So now, really, Germany, they got 2 Pak 40s, 2 SS infantry, 7, 8, 9 infantry, a couple mechs here, a couple infantry here, and artillery. So the Germans got to quickly bring resources over to France. Otherwise, this is going to get out of hand. The Germans also did bring up their fleet. So that's now in Sea Zone 17. They did purchase 5 more brand new subs. So they're going to link up with that fleet. This is what they currently have. They have a battleship, 3 cruisers, 4 destroyers, 6 subs, and then a coastal battleship as well. And then they're going to add those 5. So we'll see how all that plays out the next little bit. But now this little force here, they're going to go straight to Stalingrad. They do meet a condition to activate a couple of more countries, so they'll get those units, get that income. Once Stalingrad falls, they'll be able to activate both of these. So now when Spain activates, Portugal will activate as well, and then also Argentina will activate. So we'll see. Now, because Argentina is going to activate shortly, the Americans thought they had a little more turn, so they brought the Brazilian units up in Africa. They might have to turn those around to fight off the Argentinians, because they don't want to lose this, right? And then they'll give the Allies another $3, because obviously 1 infantry is not going to hold off what the Argentinians spawn in. Yeah, so this American force will probably turn around, which would be 2 artillery and 4 infantry, and then a coastal battleship. For the Italians, um, the Italian fleet is extremely thinned out. So the fleet that was here came up. Well, the term before that, the Italians brought the bulk of their fleet into Sea Zone 46. They had 2 of their battleships in Sea Zone 45 and an aircraft carrier in Sea Zone 39. So the British seeing this is kind of a mistake on the Italians, not really forward thinking a lot. The British seeing this and seeing, okay, all the Italian support vessels are all in one sea zone with 0 capital ships. So they came up and sunk it all. And the British were left with 2 damaged battleships and a transport destroyer. So a destroyer, 2 damaged battleships. They did bring up their transport up into this sea zone, taking out 2 of these islands to give themselves a little more money, taking money away from the Italians. So then the Italians' reaction was their carrier, 2 of their battleships, and their air force, sinking the 2 damaged British battleships. And they didn't take any hits themselves. So they're left with 1 transport. They took that island. Now they got to take back Crete, Corinth. Sorry. So they'll get it all back. But it was definitely a big scare for the Italians. Italians lost all their destroyers, subs, cruisers, and now they have this British fleet coming in. So they're definitely in a mad panic to repurchase their fleet. Pretty much all their money this round went into a sub and 3 destroyers. They did move 1 further space here, so they kind of got the Anglo force pinned down here. This will probably mostly vacate. The Americans definitely have to come down to here. And then the battle up in Gibraltar, the British did lose 2 infantry, so they'll probably replace them with this to have full loaded transports. Where are they going to go? Are they going to make a run for Rome? Land in France? We'll see. All right. And then down in Africa, there was just another build-up. They haven't engaged each other yet. They've kind of pinned each other. Before, the British were afraid to move out because the Italians did have a bunch of transports that they could take them in, take out Cairo behind their backs. But now that the transport fleet is kind of done away with, they only got 1 transport left, they could probably start thinking about moving out and engaging the Italians in Africa. Here, the British did plan on attacking the Japanese and reopening the Burma Road. After a couple of calculations, they weren't strong enough, especially because of all these veteran fighters. So they just built up again, added more infantry, more armor, a fighter. But they're running low on income because of all these convoys going on. They lost a bunch of territories. So they're definitely running low on money. They're down to $11, I believe, before bonuses. So they definitely need to make a move before it's too late. And the Japanese are just happy to stay here because they got them pinned. They're not really doing anything. They'll slowly pick apart the Chinese, and then the surviving units from the China War will come and join and then take out India. So India sees this. They know it's coming. So they have to make a move now. Because if you take out this force here, that doesn't leave a lot left. Yes, this is pretty sizable, but the combined effort of both India and China would probably win if they can get through this with a healthy number of units. We'll see how all plays out. For the Chinese, they've just been holding the wall here for a couple turns. They haven't really attacked. They took out this territory, but it was just a walk-in, knowing that it'll just be recaptured soon enough. But the Japanese have slowed down production on their land units, opting to buy more Navy as much as possible. The last purchase round for the Japanese was on a model battleship, a loaded carrier. The transports were already there. They did buy some land units, so they got some infantry here. They got a cavalry. Most of their money is going into their navy the last couple of turns, so they might have to switch back to land-based units to really end these wars, and then they can solely focus on the Americans. Australia is pretty much tamed. They're effectively out of the war right now. The Japanese came down and is convoying C-Zone 99. No, not convoying, but blockading. So even if they do purchase any kind of fleet, their income's not high enough, and they can only build 3 units. So even if they built 3 cruisers, well, 4 destroyers and 2 subs can probably handle that. They did have 2 of their destroyers here trying to take out the sub, but the Japanese had cruisers up here that they came down. The Australians still tried to make a run at it, but lost both of theirs, and the British didn't lose, or the Japanese didn't lose anything at all. So the Indian Ocean is pretty, even though there's only 4 ships here, but it's still in control of the Japanese. The Pacific is mostly in control of the Japanese. The Americans do have their navy, and they're right in line. The Japanese amalgamated all their navy together, so everyone's in line to engage now. So who's going to make the first move? The Japanese on the Americans, or the other way around? Battleship wise, Japanese got 3 battleships, 2 Amatos, 2 carriers, and the Americans have 3 battleships, 2 carriers. So the Japanese do have more. They got 2 more Amatos. They built another Amato and another carrier. They'll sell that down. So they'll have 4 battleships more. Pretty sure they also got more escort vessels slightly than the Americans. So we'll see. And the Americans are getting convoyed here with this lone destroyer. So all this is in one C-Zone, and that destroyer is in the convoy box. And the British or the Japanese did bring down. They sent over a vessel here, or a couple turns ago. They had a submarine here convoying this, and they used 2 transports unescorted to take out these 2 islands. And then the Americans brought down a sub, a torpedo boat destroyer, and a destroyer to take out these 3 Japanese small vessels. 2 were transports, so they were just pretty easy to get rid of. Knowing that this is probably a suicide mission, but they wanted to limit the Japanese ability to utilize transports. So they had 6, now they're down to 4, so they'll probably have to purchase a few more, especially if they want to make a run at Hawaii. And then the Americans over here purchased another number of transports, some more Marines, some more heavy artillery tanks. So they'll start doing this chuck back and forth and getting as many units into Europe as possible. Canada's doing the same thing. So they'll be able to bring over 3 more units. And now that the beachhead is set, now that they've had it for a whole round, all those British fighters can land in there and help defend it from any German counterattacks. Well, that's pretty much it for this turn. And of course, Russia's effectively out of the game. They did move their capital to here, but they did because they lost Moscow, all their money goes back to the bank. So they didn't have a purchase this turnaround. They will coming up, and they have $25. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and have a great day.